What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be working on my Fn509. If you haven't seen any of the other videos I've done on this gun, go check them out. I've done a couple upgrades to this thing, and today we're going to do another one. So let's jump into it. So for starters, like I said, this is my Fn509. It's the smaller version, it's not the full-size grip. But let's go over the few things that I have done to this gun. So I did an enforced weapon light on it. I love these weapon lights. I love the look of them, the fit of them, the functionality. I love how the buttons are. I did a Holosun 507 CX2 on the top of that. I also did a Go Gun gas pedal. That helps a lot with recoil and hand placement. Cheap, easy upgrade to get extra control when you're shooting. I also put an Apex action enhancement trigger kit in this thing. I did their upgraded striker and their extended controls. So they got that extended magazine release and stuff. I've done all that to this gun. This is an awesome shooting gun. I love the way it shoots. I love the upgrades I've done to it. But the thing we're going to do to this today, I think is going to change it for the better. Before we get to that, if you guys haven't seen my 224 Valkyrie build video, I built out an AR in 224 Valkyrie. Go check that video out. I got a giveaway going if you guys want to get in on it. Go over there and get all the details I outlined in that whole video. I'm hooking you guys up. If you go to Ballistically Challenge, buy some of my merchandise, get a hat, t-shirt, whatever you get. At the end of the giveaway, I'll go through all those orders, pick one random winner, and send you the opposite of what you bought. So if you bought a hat, I'll reach out, see what size shirt you want. If you bought a shirt, I'll hook you up with a hat. So if you want to get in on that, go watch that video. In the description of that video, I also have the date that the giveaway ends, so make sure you go check that out. But what I'm going to do to this Fn509 today is going to upgrade the trigger pull on this. I'm hoping quite a bit. Like I said, I have the Apex Action Enhancement Trigger Kit in this, which comes with a new trigger shoe, new trigger bar, and a new sear. It doesn't change any of the springs or anything like that. It does lighten the weight a little bit. Here's the trigger pull with that Apex. Definitely changed the trigger from the factory trigger. It's night and day difference, but we're gonna upgrade that a little bit. I got a new spring kit from Mcarbo. They make all sorts of stuff for all sorts of different guns. So I'm gonna throw these springs in, change this up a little bit, and see how good we can make this trigger pull. So once we jump over to the bench, I'll do a trigger pull test on this with the Apex Action Enhancement trigger, see what it's pulling at. Then I'll get these new springs installed and show you guys what it's pulling at after the install. So let's jump over to the bench. So first off, obviously you want to make sure that this thing is safe. Make sure there's nothing in the chamber, no magazine, no bullets anywhere. Make sure that when you're working on a gun, it is 100% safe. Let's do a trigger pull on this thing, see what it's pulling at right now with just that Apex Action Enhancement trigger in it. I'm just going to use my little digital Lyman trigger pull gauge. I use this thing all the time. And if you guys don't know, like with all my videos, I'll have a link in the description that takes you to my website with more information on all the parts and pieces that I'm using, any tools I use, anything like that, so you guys can go over there and check that out. I'll make sure I have that linked in the description. So let's see what this thing's pulling at before I change out these springs. Four pounds, 6.8 ounces. Wow, that one's 3 pounds, 15 ounces, so just under 4 pounds. Four pounds, 12 ounces. So a 3-pull average is 4 pounds, 6 ounces. So that's not too bad in its own right. A significant difference from the factory trigger before I put this Apex trigger in. So let's set this aside for a second and I'll go over this Mcarbo kit. This is the Fn509 spring kit, and honestly these things are dirt cheap. It's like 18, 20 bucks for this kit. It replaces all the necessary springs for the trigger. It changes out the striker spring, the disconnector spring, the sear spring, and the striker block spring to make this trigger pull that much better. So we'll see if this thing changes. I'm hoping it does, because this thing feels a lot heavier than 4.5 pounds. And I know it made quite a difference putting the spring kit in my Strybog. If you guys haven't seen that video, I'll try and link it below, as well as the video for the giveaway. So I'm gonna start pulling this thing down, get this stuff swapped out. YouTube doesn't like me showing you guys how to do stuff like this step by step. It is pretty straightforward, but I'm gonna throw you on time lapse, get this stuff swapped out, and then we'll check it out once I get all this stuff installed. here's how that thing looks once you pull it out of the gun. You don't have to pull the whole trigger shoe and trigger bar and all that stuff apart, everything up front. You just have to pull out this sear housing to get this stuff swapped out. And these things do come apart in halves, so you want to make sure you have a nice hold on that thing. Don't let it just spring apart and parts go everywhere. Make sure you have a hold on that thing when you pull it out. All right, we got all those parts and pieces swapped out. The striker spring, the striker block spring, that sear spring, and the disconnector spring. So I'm gonna throw this back together, make sure everything functions right, and then we'll do another trigger pull test. Okay, so we got that thing back together. Functions as it should. Off camera I did do a full function check, mess with it a few times, racking that slide, making sure everything works like it's supposed to. As always, you wanna make sure that everything works like it's supposed to, the safety, so you don't have any surprises when you hit the range. So I'm gonna do a trigger pull test on this thing again. First, I'm gonna get these factory springs out of the way so they're not rolling around. So let's see if these springs change our trigger pull at all. £2, 15.4 ounces. 2 pounds, 10.9 ounces. 2 pounds, 7. So we're averaging a 2 pound, 11 ounce trigger pull on this FN. So we dropped quite a bit of weight from what it was pulling at before we put those springs in. And you can definitely feel it. Once I got this put back together, pulled that trigger, it's a night and day difference. So let's jump back up off the bench. We'll take a closer look at this thing and go over a few things that I ran into. All right, so that was not a bad install. If you got some patience and a little time and some common sense, that is an awesome project to do. It totally changed the way this gun feels. Let me show you here. It doesn't change the pre-travel or the over-travel or reset or anything like that. All that stuff is kind of set with the trigger bar and the trigger shoe from Apex, but this thing enhances that thing even more. So here's what this looks like. Nice crisp break. Still got that tactile reset. Ooh. That trigger pulls easier than Britney Spears. and the install wasn't very bad either. First impressions, I think that Mcarbo kit with those trigger springs is a great addition to that Apex trigger. The Apex trigger did change this gun quite a bit, but adding those springs makes it feel like an aftermarket trigger. The Apex kit lightened it a little bit, made it feel a little better, but it still felt heavy. I do love the trigger shoe and the pull of the Apex trigger, but those springs just take it over the top. Here in the next month or so, I'm gonna get a few guns to the range so I can do some update videos on stuff I've done to these things, get some footage for you guys, because I know it's been a little while since I've done a range video, and I get questions all the time in the comments, how does it shoot and stuff like that. Well, for a guy like me, it's kind of hard to do the project, then drive to the range, do that for multiple different videos. So like I said, I'm gonna try and get to the range with multiple different guns that I've done upgrades to in the last little while, and try and get some range footage so I can report back to you guys and let you know how those upgrades are working for me. I wouldn't hesitate to do this upgrade again off the first impressions. We'll see how that goes once I hit the range, but I think this combo is gonna work out very nicely. Like I said before, I'll have a link in the description that takes you to my website where you can get more info for the parts and pieces that I used, any tools I used, anything like that. I'll also have a link in the description for my other Fn509 videos and the video that has the giveaway information in it. So make sure you check those out. As always, thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, hit that thumbs up button, and I'll check you guys on the next one. And go buy a t-shirt.